The Super Mario Brothers movie is out. I watched it, and now I'm here to talk about it. I don't really go to a lot of movie theaters anymore. I've kind of retired that for a while. I make special occasions, but for the most part, whenever a new movie is out and I'm actually interested in it, I'll usually just wait for it to hit streaming. I'm currently doing that with Creed 3. But when it came to the Super Mario Brothers movie, I just had to get the film bro side of me back so I could watch another pair of bros kick some patootie. I saw someone online say that since this is a PG-rated movie, that this movie is not for kids. And I want that person to never say an opinion again. But anyways, let's talk about the movie. All right, if there's one word that I have to say about it right now to start this review off, that word would be awesome. Is this a masterpiece? Yes. I'm just kidding. This movie's got its flaws, but the experience I had in the movie theater watching this was awesome. That's the best way to describe it. You go into this movie a Mario fan, and you come out of it a happy Mario fan. I'm gonna be going into spoilers later in this video, but for now, since this movie literally just came out, I'll refrain from that for the first part of the video and just talk about each aspect of the film, the parts I liked, the parts I think could have been done better, and then my deeper thoughts into it as the video goes on. The first thing I want to point out, the visuals, the animation, incredible. Illumination absolutely outdid themselves here. I know a lot of people will see Illumination's animation as pretty simple, at least compared to Pixar or DreamWorks or something like that. And for the most part, they're right. But with this movie, man, I know Miyamoto just had all the animators in there and he had to be pointing some kind of gun at them because, man, they produced some really fine visuals and just the animation was just great. You could tell exactly what was going on in every scene and all of it was just captured really good. So big props to the animation people because they absolutely knocked it out of the park. Or if I want to make a Mario reference myself in this video, they absolutely slugged it out of the park. But yeah, basically when it comes to the animation, I had absolutely no issues with it. I'll get to the writing here in a minute, but for the character writing, I actually thought that was really good as well. Every main character that was in this movie, all the character writing that came from it, Mario, Luigi, Peach, Donkey Kong, Toad, all those guys, and Bowser especially. I feel like each of those characters were just written just really well. And it felt like with each character, you could tell exactly who was playing that guy, especially Jack Motherfucking Black. This guy really let himself out. And I'm super happy that they just, oh my gosh, the voice of an angel. If you know, you know. If there's one character I wish that had a different voice actor, probably in my opinion, it would have been Donkey Kong, and I would have changed it from Seth Rogen to The Rock. But who knows? Maybe The Rock will have a different role. Maybe he'll play Toadette. But even I thought Seth Rogen was fine. He did good. They really got his laugh in there, and I thought it was fine. But yeah, all jokes aside, yeah, Seth did good. Pacing was great. There was always something happening. Even before the Mario Bros got to the little Mushroom Kingdom place, I mean, there was still an engaging story leading up to it. I mean, you could really tell that the Mario Bros, they've done everything together their whole lives. I mean, they didn't really show that. Well, they kind of did. Again, if you know, you know. Yeah, for the most part, it's like already established that, I mean, Mario and Luigi have done everything together. I mean, even though we haven't seen that take place, I mean, their chemistry, at least in the first part of the movie, was really good. And I actually was pretty surprised how, I'll say decent, the writing was. I'd say really the only nitpicks that I have about this movie are just like tiny parts of the plot and like these little details that I couldn't help but notice. I feel like if it was done differently, at least one little tweak or whatever, it could have changed like the whole, like almost the whole movie for me. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. I know that some of these decisions that some of these characters make or actions or whatever, I understand that those decisions sometimes have to be made in order for the movie to go on and set up something even greater. So the actual nitpicks themselves, I'll kind of get into the spoiler section. But for those who have seen the movie, you can probably guess where I'm going with it. But again, in that instance, you just kind of have to let it go because again, it's a movie. But yeah, as a whole, this story was probably pretty out there in most parts. I mean, obviously a lot of things were different than in the games, but even though this movie used the Mario IP and obviously Nintendo was a part of this, I mean, it still felt just as much like a Mario experience than anything. I mean, the number one thing movies are supposed to do is entertain, and if you go into this movie, you will get that. This movie experience flew by. It was as if I was in a controller in that movie theater audience, and man, that was just really, it was a really good time. So I'm gonna do two different ratings, one rating now and one rating when I do the spoiler thing. If you wanna watch the movie, then come back and watch my other rating, and it's gonna be an average of those two scores. So I'm gonna do the entertainment score, and then when I do the spoiler part, I'm gonna have a writing score, because those two scores are gonna be a little different. So all things considered, with as much fun as I had in the theater, theater. Thankfully, there weren't a ton of little kids streaming throughout it, so I could understand what was going on. So that was always nice. As much fun as I had, as engaging as it felt, as many of the references I was able to catch in that movie. Entertainment score, I'm giving it a 9.5 out of 10. The only 0.5 is just the absolute most minuscule little details that make this not quite a 10. I'll say it again. There was always something happening in this movie that you could appreciate. Every little scene. There was not a single wasted scene. And I just really appreciated just how much fun I had in that theater. Experiencing this just as this lifelong Mario fan. It was really refreshing to see. So that's my entertainment score. Now we're gonna get into some spoilers. Unfortunately, this is where the negatives appear. Again, it's nothing crazy, but there are some things I need to point out. Like, number one, why is there just a random pipe and some random sewer in Brooklyn? And what exactly caused that leak that Pauline and everyone else was freaking out about? If there is going to be a second Super Mario Bros. Movie, like they teased at the end with the Yoshi egg there, again, don't know how he got there, but if he is in the second movie, poggers. Again, the pipe was never explained, but in all fairness, comparing this to my NCU Super Mario Bros. Movie, how Mario and Luigi got to the Mushroom Kingdom in that way wasn't exactly explained until the second movie there either. So, you know what? Even though I'm pointing it out, I'm willing to give them that. If that gets explained later, wonderful. But if there was a message conveyed, they must have been to Martin Scorsese for me, and that detail must have just flew over my head. But I did not get why there was just this random warp pipe there. Number two. And this happened towards the end of the movie with the Bonsai Bill chasing Tanuki Mario. So basically what was happening in this scene was Peach, who by the way had the biggest I'm him performance maybe of all time. After everyone ruined Bowser and Peach's wedding, out of anger, Bowser sends a giant Bonsai Bill to destroy the Mushroom Kingdom. Tanuki Mario is able to deflect the Bonsai Bill away from the Mushroom Kingdom so that it starts chasing Mario. Obviously, there's nowhere really to stop the bomb, at least in the Mushroom Kingdom, without devastating an entire chunk of land. So what does Tanuki Mario decide to do? You see, he flies near the warp pipe where he originally kind of came from, and I'll get back to the warp pipe here in a minute. His idea to get rid of the Bonsai Bill from the Mushroom Kingdom is to have the Bonsai Bill go through the warp pipe. Let's not forget that Mario came out of that warp pipe from Brooklyn. So for a brief second there in the theater, I thought that Mario's plan to prevent the Bonsai Bill from destroying the Mushroom Kingdom was to obliterate the out of Brooklyn. I mean, to be fair, everyone was dicks to him, but come on, man. Like, there was really a time I thought Mario's plan was just to destroy a part of New York as his big plan to stop Bowser from destroying the Mushroom Kingdom. I mean, obviously it didn't end that way. I mean, he just seemingly conveniently just exploded in that little gray area, or that little rainbowy area, not Rainbow Road, that the warp pipes lead to. But again, Mario could not have known that, especially with his family living there, right? Obviously, this is a kid's movie, and again, you gotta kind of dismiss some things, but this one I just can't let slide, man. Didn't take away from it. Again, it was a minor detail. The Bonsai Bill could have been destroyed anywhere, and ultimately it worked out, but I thought Brooklyn was about to become the next, you know what, never mind. Anyway, so that was kind of a head stretcher there, and then just another thing was when the Mario Bros first went to the Mushroom Kingdom. Again, there was a random warp pipe that leads from Brooklyn to the Mushroom Kingdom. Mario and Luigi get separated, but what's the difference? They both went in from a warp pipe from Brooklyn. They landed somewhere in that little world, Mario going to the Mushroom Kingdom and Luigi's going into Bowser's land. Something they need to note is that when they landed there, the warp pipe was just as much there as it was. So there wasn't exactly anything preventing them from just saying nope and then just going back into the warp pipe back to Brooklyn. There was nothing stopping them from doing that. I'll bring my NCU Mario Bros. Movie in here, and I'll just say that when Mario and Luigi were transported to the Mushroom Kingdom together, it was eventually revealed that it was from the portal that they couldn't exactly mosey their way back on into. So if Luigi would have just picked up his little flashlight and toolkit, went back into the pipe, to the warp pipe, Luigi would have been fine. He would have never been kidnapped by Bowser. But that's the part that you kind of gotta have to kind of dismiss, because my excited $20 paying ass in the theater would have been like, huh? But again, since we're talking about the actual plot, that's just something that I have to point out, and several people probably have too, because again, it's kind of an obvious detail, and something that I wish has been made in this movie. It involves Luigi. Not Luigi being in the movie. No, Luigi was great. I just wish Luigi would have done more. Mario was hyping him up in Brooklyn, saying Luigi shouldn't be scared, but when he arrives to Bowser's Kingdom, I mean, all he does for almost the whole movie is he just stays in Bowser's dungeon. I mean, come on. I mean, obviously you guys know what happens in the end with Mario and Luigi just jumping Bowser to oblivion. That was amazing to see. But throughout that time that they landed in the Mushroom Kingdom and when they came back to Brooklyn, it just felt like a Mario movie, not a Mario Brothers movie like they have in the title. I mean, obviously, Peach was able to make up for a lot of that, but this is a Mario Brothers movie. Again, Peach had the biggest I'm him performance in the entire movie, and I felt like her chemistry between her and Mario was great, but I wish Luigi would have done more to at least try to get himself out of that dungeon, help the other prisoners, and kind of just infiltrate everything from the inside. Hey, they were making fun of the mini mushroom, making it seem like it was worthless. Maybe Luigi could have snuck one in there, got everyone out. They're making the mini mushroom sound like it's bad. I was offended. All jokes aside, though, it was fine. Again, it's just tiny nitpicks. But again, back to the positives. Again, overall, it was just a really great experience. I felt like whoever Mario was interacting with in that movie, whoever he was with, Luigi, Peach, or Donkey Kong, or Toad, I felt like his chemistry with each of those characters was really good. And by the way, for Chris Pratt's voice in that movie, I know everyone was complaining about it in the trailers, but when you watch this movie, you won't even notice it. Unless you're like a super hardcore film bro who just hates Chris Pratt with a passion for no reason. But for me, it was just that. I mean, they kind of did that voice at the beginning of the movie, but it just felt natural, man. No one's voice, like, took me out of the movie. I mean, it was great. Again, everyone just did a really good job with their character. But again, there were certain parts of the writing that I felt like could have been handled like more smoothly. Like with the plot going from Mario and Donkey Kong fighting to all of a sudden you can customize cars they just happen to have. Could have been a little bit more of a smooth transition, but again, tiny things. And I'll also say this. I know everyone was really excited to see the blue shell guy in action. And he kind of had an I'm him performance too. He was great to see. Even though in general there were some parts of the writing I didn't exactly enjoy, for the most part, almost everything that I was hoping would happen in this movie happened with flying colors, and I was all for it. And that leads us to my score for the writing, which I am going to give a 7.5 out of 10. And again, nothing major caused it to go down to that score, but it was just tiny things that just kind of piled up on each other that led to that. But the average score, I'll have to do math for. If I combine my two scores, the score that I officially give this movie is an 8.5 out of 10. I feel like that score is absolutely earned. I'll mention the Rotten Tomatoes stuff real quick. I just think they're a load of garbage. You always want to look at the audience score, but again, everyone already knows that. As I'm recording this movie currently has a 54%, which even in terms of video game movies, that's not even bad. I did think it was going to kind of be around in the Sonic the Hedgehog movie score, that kind of score, but the audience score is 95%, which I absolutely expected. But again, the critics for Rotten Tomatoes should never critique anything again, especially after giving Cuties an almost 90%. They all need to go to jail, if not for Cuties, but for this movie as well. But even in the mid-50s, that's not even that bad. I do wish it was higher because this movie absolutely wanted to do its best, and it did do its best, and it really just made an awesome cinematic Mario experience, even if it was a little different with Mario and Luigi being away for most of the movie. So that is my score out of 10, the average being 8.5 out of 10. It's Easter weekend this weekend, so if you haven't seen it yet, you might watch it tonight with Good Friday and all. Y'all might not have school on Friday. I highly recommend this movie just for the experience itself, just alone. And if you are a Mario fan, you will have a blast with this movie. This movie really did the franchise justice. Again, the only real issue I had with this movie was how Luigi was treated for most of the movie. But again, for the most part, it was a solid one. And if they do make a sequel in like 10 years or so, Lord knows with how long it took this movie to be made, then I will look forward to that movie just as much as I was looking forward to this one. So everyone, I would be interested to hear your guys' thoughts in the comments. If you have not seen the movie yet, I would not go down in the comments because I don't trust people to not spoil it. So go to the comments with caution, but if you have seen it, I would like to see your guys' thoughts about it. I'll do a plug for my NCU real quick again. A year ago, I did make my own version of a Super Mario Brothers movie that eventually leads into a kind of a Smash Bros. Nintendo Cinematic Universe saga, so I will link that video in the description if you guys would like to also compare those two stories as well. Obviously, this is a movie versus me talking about a movie, so obviously your thoughts are going to be a little different, but I'd be curious to know all of that. Again, solid movie. I think Illumination and Nintendo did a really good job. I highly recommend it, and if you have not seen it yet and you just want to have a good time at the theater, please do yourself a favor and watch this. So everyone, that's gonna do it for this movie review. Hope you guys enjoyed, and yeah, that'll be it for me. So everyone, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you guys hit the like button normally and subscribe to join the herd. Become a VIP herd member today, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye!